Hey guys, welcome back. BDCKR here. We're back with Season 7, Episode 12 of our weekly Q&A videos. If you're currently watching this on YouTube, you can access this on all the major podcasting platforms, which you can reach by clicking on the links in the description, and we'll get back to that later. We've got some stuff to talk about.
Oh, I thought you were going to start with that. Okay.
Oh, well, we've got a related comment. You know what? I'm going to skip down a little bit because there's a comment that's specifically related to this. This is going to be very self-congratulatory, but... DI Wackygaming says, I recently started listening to your Q&As on Apple Podcasts. I really like listening to them on that. If anyone who's reading this and wants to try something new, I would highly recommend you listen on Apple Podcasts. And there was a follow-up comment from BMO Gaming on it that said, where can I leave my questions for the Q&A? So to answer these quickly in succession, for BMO, you just did anywhere in the comments. And in terms of what DI Wackygaming said, I had a reason. I was checking recently that all of the links were still good, right? Because we use...
To the podcast, you mean, in the description? Yeah.
Yeah, because we use a secondary service that lets us upload them for free, and it automatically posts them. So I was checking that both, like, the posts were still coming through, because I don't know how any of that works, and that, like, the links were still, you know, the correct links.
Right.
And we found that we had 2 reviews on Apple Podcasts.
Oh.
And they're both 5-star reviews. You know, we're quite happy with that. And I was just confused because I hadn't realized that was like
a thing
that somebody would take the time and do. And I don't know why it was so weird to me, because we have like our Anchor, the place that we upload them on, estimates we have something like 16 average listeners or something on the podcast format.
Right.
And so the fact that out of those, 2 of them are on Apple Podcasts.
More than 10%.
Yeah, 2 of them are on Apple Podcasts. And gave us a perfect 5 stars. That was pretty cool.
Woohoo.
So I guess this is a shout out. It does not help us at all. It won't help us get ad revenue. I'm sure it's not going to recommend us to anybody else. But if you want to review us on Apple Podcasts, that would be cool. I feel like the only issue now is that we've mentioned this early enough in the video that people who don't love us might hear it, and we might get like a 4-star review or something.
Hate reviews?
I don't know. Well, okay. I can't imagine anybody's coming to our content to hate on it. I guess it's possible. Maybe I'm just full of myself, but it seems like people have better things to do.
Well, we've selected out, I think, a lot of the haters just because the number of people playing now, and it's not like this is something we've changed brand new. This is something we've been doing for a while. So
I think the main issue is that we're not interesting enough for people to hate watch us. And, you know, we're pretty consistent in the type of thing we make. So if you come to this content to dislike it, I feel like it's not like a quick, intense dislike. You don't get righteous anger from watching us. It's just
it's
sort
a slow burn.
Yeah.
Slow burning heat.
I think probably the most potentially applicable complaint about our stuff would be that it's boring. And boring is not the kind of thing that you sit and watch to not like.
So it's like that joke, right? Where these 2 guys are sitting to dinner and one guy says, oh man, this is awful. The chef really sucks. And the other guy goes, yeah, and there's so little of it.
Yeah.
So it's like that, right? You'd think at some point they would have decided...
Except if somebody likes our stuff, there would be too much of... Dislikes our stuff, there would be too much of it.
That's right.
Yeah, because, you know, you can watch somebody who you think has really, really horrible opinions or is saying really offensive stuff, and you watch and you go, I need to prove why this person's wrong, right? And that's really important to me. But I don't think we even share that many opinions that often, so there's really no...
Although...
There's that one guy.
Yeah, but we've got some big opinions, actually, that are injustice related that's maybe not exactly what you'd expect.
That's true. We're going to get our first 1-star review.
Right.
On Apple Podcasts.
All right, so but the first one was sort of a question, but more a follow-up to the idea last time when we started talking about different skins. Mm-hmm. And we talked about Flash. And despite being self-avowed Flash enthusiasts, we totally messed up that question because we forgot about 3 different Flash skins.
Yeah, so we're fake fans. We're hacks and frauds.
Yeah.
And so to make up for it, we have put in the information and passives of all the different Flashes.
So what we're going to do is we're going to review all of them. We're going to review all of them and not miss anything. And we're going to start with the weakest and work our way up to the strongest.
So this is our official review. Our opinions on this is never allowed to change. At this point in time is the final thing that we're ever allowed to say about the quality of the Flashes. And if anything in the future diverges from this, then we've lost our touch.
We've lost our integrity.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so
as journalists.
we start. Yeah, Yeah, that's it. As your
We start with Bronze Flash.
the Flash Prime.
Flash the Flash.
Flash the Flash. So his passive. So a lot of characters, when you review them, you talk. The biggest focus is on the passives and their stats.
Mm-hmm.
And to contextualize the stats, obviously, we need to know what level they are. And I mean, there are other features that are interesting, and we might get into some of those.
Yeah.
But I think that's sort of the starting point for discussing.
So we've got Flash the Flash, who's bronze.
This was the first Flash I ever got because he was one of my 3
the first
starter
Flash
bronzes.
that anybody ever got. I don't think.
I guess it depends on whether you progress to silvers before you've completed your bronze roster and you didn't happen to get Flash in your first starter.
That's
3.
true. Okay.
But
so
this is
a
my
lot
starter
of
3.
people had this.
Yeah,
first.
a lot of people. It was easy
because you also collect bronzes like they're nothing when you start.
So Flash has Speed Force, and activating a special attack gives the Flash a 15% attack speed increase. 15, that's pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
Stacks up to 3 times. He's got an attack of 280 and a health of 180 at base.
Mm-hmm.
And what's great about him is, and why he was such a great bronze character when you're starting out and you're just grinding the, say, bonus battle 1, he's got the highest damage stat on any bronze.
Mm-hmm.
It almost feels like, looking back on it and reading the passive, it's that kind of passive that's not really passive, because that's sort of the ability of his special 1.
Mm-hmm.
But he was a lot of fun to play. And when he does stack a bunch of Speeds Force, where do you pick the S, right? He was actually even more fun to play, especially at the beginning when there wasn't augmentations, there wasn't gear, and you needed to keep on hitting them to generate power, but they would generate power faster than you.
Yeah.
That was Flash number 1. You want to do Flash
number 2?
Yeah,
Flash number 2, new 52 Flash, still bronze. The exact same stats, so 280 attack and 180 health. And his passive is Hyperactive, which is the Flash's power generates 5% faster.
So new 52 Flash was the sort of rare one, right? That was a rare drop in the bronze pack. That, I don't know, like 1 in 100 chance or something. 2 in 100 chance.
Challenging to get.
Yeah. So the Flash generates power 5% faster, which is a really good passive. And even better than that was that originally he would get the full Speed Force the same way on Special 1.
Mm-hmm.
So it wouldn't matter. So he'd get the benefit of both passives. And so the thing is, I mean, I think his character model wasn't as good. He was more smooth. He didn't have the edge to his suit armor the way the Flash Prime did. And his Special 2 didn't do as much damage. So I don't know why. Maybe it was just the look, but he wasn't as much fun to play, despite the fact that he had way better passive. Because he's got both of them. And I think there was some nerfing that happened later where they changed it so it was only that the Bronze Flash would get the Speed Force as strong. And maybe they didn't get it as much, not as big as a 15%. I mean, you stack it 3 times.
That's a lot, yeah.
That's like a 50% speed boost.
It is.
Almost, 45. 90% of that, of a 50%, that's quibble.
Oh my god.
But, yeah, and I guess the other part was because he was such a rare drop, early on, you couldn't promote him as much, so maybe that was a factor in why he wasn't as much fun to play. Yeah.
Next up, we have the Regime Flash, who is a silver. Passive is Team Flash. The Flash and his teammates attack 15% faster. That's 480 attack and 370 health.
Yeah. 15% again. Really good speed boost.
Yeah, and his teammates. That's significant for everybody.
Right, because there was a sort of ideal team. I guess I want to speak to the fact that the Silver Flash in a lot of ways is really good. Not only because, but when augmentations came around, the Silvers, I think, benefited the most from attack and health augmentations because you could raise them to the level of like an Elite 1 or Elite 2 gold, the equivalent of it. So then you had more versatility in teams, so you could play a lowish level gold team and bring some silvers along if you wanted to augment them, if you like the passive, like we like the Regime Flash's passive. The one place where you'd really see the benefit of his passive was on a team with Reverse Flash. So, Reverse Flash, we'll get into when we talk about him later, was a great character for Survivor. And having Regime Flash on the team meant that you could take advantage of
his passive way easier. Or not his passive, his quirk.
And like I said, we'll get into a little bit later. But
Anything that's timing based for attacks is easier to get off.
Yeah. The problem is that they made a change to Survivor. So for the longest time, Survivor, when you knocked a player out, when a player on your team was knocked out,
Yeah.
you would still keep the passive.
Which made sense. Because that's how it works in multiplayer.
Well, yes, I guess yes and no. I during the fight, I think it stays, but when you do the next fight and you've got a player that's knocked out,
Yeah, I guess when they're not in from the start.
yeah, you used to still be able to get the passive. Now you don't for sure. And the easiest way to see this is with Batgirl, right? Like if it's a passive that you're not sure about whether it triggers.
Yeah, when it's not
Batgirl's-
like an incremental passive for like damage or something.
right, or even speed, because it might feel like it's a little bit slower, but may not be.
Yeah.
So he used to be a great teammate because on the later levels of Survivor there was random tag, so it would force your team member out. So with one less slot, you were less likely to be disrupted during your strategy for fighting. You could leave. You were better off actually with an empty slot than you were with like a third character that you didn't want. And Regime Flash had the perfect passive. And then when they changed it, and I have no idea why they bothered doing this, but they changed it so that you would lose the passive, and then it became a little bit harder to finish Survivor.
We also have the Elseworld Flash, who is now our first gold, and after this we're just gonna not mention what they are because they're all golds from here on out.
But we're going to go from the weakest, I think, in maybe the earliest to the latest.
Yeah. And so Elseworld Flash passive is Bullet Time, which is once per match when Flash reaches 30% health, his opponent's specials are disabled and time slows for 7 seconds. 750 attack and 750 health.
So my favorite thing about this was making the opponent dance like the worm.
Yeah, because normally there's a get up animation that happens fast enough that once your combo ends, they get up and then you can knock them down again if you're comboing them, right? If you hit them again. But in Bullet Time, it's so slow that they're like
They're
still
still fast.
falling.
Yeah,
They're still like hitting the ground for the first time.
right.
When you
Hit them again, so
hit
they
them again, yeah.
flop up again like a worm.
Yeah.
The one thing to keep in mind if you are playing Ultra Flash is the bullet time ends prematurely if you do a special. So that's why we realized that by just doing swipe combo without stopping, you could just do it continually. Get a few swipe combos in. Don't stop doing basic attacks until bullet time's almost over. And usually the timing is just right so that it finishes just as you finish a combo.
And then you just launch right into a special.
If you look on the Injustice wiki, it still reads that his passive will interrupt combos, and it doesn't really the same way, because it used to be in the middle of a combo.
Yeah.
If it was a multi-hit combo, if one of the hits triggered your bullet time, their combo would stop.
Yeah.
And that was great too, because it becomes both an offensive and defensive passive.
Because it essentially saves you from death. It works in a very similar way to Astro Harness.
Right. The best was when Deathstroke, Arkham Origins Deathstroke, I don't know if you remember this, Arkham Origins Deathstroke used to be the best character. Everybody wanted him, and he was the worst person to face in defense in multiplayer, because at one point the AI would always get 200%.
Oh, with the special, yeah, and it would just
special
shoot you down. But the problem is, it's a ton of little piddly hits.
Right. Unblockable, right? When he gets it's all crit, and it's unblockable if he gets 200. The AI was getting it every time, and Elseworld Flash could just take it.
Because, the second he hit 30%, it would stop it.
Yeah. So, still my favorite, partly because he was the first gold Flash. We had a really great team with him, and the bullet time passive, while not super powerful, was good offensively and defensively, because it gives you a chance to get a bunch of unblocked basic combos. It let you generate power, and it could interrupt specials. A lot of fun to play. Great synergy on a team with Containment Doomsday and Raging Green Lantern back in the day when basic attack was the king. Yeah.
So there we go. Our next Flash, I was going to say our next question. Our next Flash is Reverse Flash, whose passive is Cellular Regeneration. While active, the Reverse Flash has a chance to immediately regenerate health and cleanse negative effects after taking damage from a special attack. May occur 3 times per match, and 1,000 attack and 1,000 health.
So that's a pretty big jump, right? So you've got a 250 boost in both attack and health over the previous Elseworld Flash. They're both golds, but, that's like a 33% jump in stats, straight up.
That's true.
And he was the best because he could juggle like crazy. The secret is that and we've demonstrated this on our Survivor video, like when we did our How to Finish Survivor. So you swipe once for the first 2 hits of his swipe combo. And you could do a variation of this with a tap, but I found the swipe combo was easiest. You swipe once, he would do 2 hits. Oh, that's also good too, because any unblockable gear, if there's a chance of unblockable, listen, you know that the AI cheats, and they will finish their combo even if you block. So they have lots of chances to break your block. On the other hand, when we're doing it, we usually only have 1 chance. In the case of reverse flash, you get 2 chances because he completes the first 2 swipe hits. Either of those can independently break the block of the opponent.
Yeah.
But so you swipe once for the first 2 hits of the swipe combo. You pause, and you have to pause just right. This is like Goldilocks and the 3 Bears.
Yeah.
Not too... You can't pause too short, because it needs to be long enough to not trigger the 3rd hit. If you're too short, you'll just finish a swipe combo, you push them back, and then you're done juggling.
Yeah.
And it can't be too long, because it's got to be short enough that the opponent doesn't touch you.
Yeah, because if you wait, they might just whack you.
Right, exactly. And back then, every flash got the speed force boost. So you could get 1 boost from doing special 1, or have a regime flash, and that was enough. It was harder to do it with only 1 speed boost, but
possible.
Possible. And 2 was easy. You could do that over and over and over again. And that was our main strategy in the last few fights of Survivor to finish. And that's why it was good not to have all 3 slots taken up, because when they did the random tag, it was better not to tag out reverse flash. It was better to leave him in, because he could stun lock the opponent, and they would... The beauty about reverse flash is not only could they not get a basic attack in, they couldn't even do their specials when characters had power.
So your main issue is A, losing the timing, or B, somebody else coming in after you've knocked somebody out, right? But other than that, if you got your timing right and you could keep it up, you got a full knockout from basically 1 hit, from a setup, but then 1 hit and then continuing it.
Right.
And it's 1 long continuous combo. The game doesn't recognize it as a combo,
right?
But that is the textbook definition of a combo.
Yeah, exactly. What was additionally cool about him, I mean, that's just his ability. That has nothing to do with his passive. His passive was kind of cool because it could save you. And this is one of the few times where I think a defensive passive was good, because he had so much offensive potential. So he could cellularly regenerate, but even better, that it's not listed there, but would happen is that if he'd already been in the fight, he'd lost some health, or if one of the opponents had done some splash damage, and he happened to tag in as your previous character
was knocked out by a special,
and the special didn't even necessarily have to continue. As long as it was the last hit was finishing them off, he would tag in.
It's the same way that poison goes on to the next character, or any damage over time goes on to the next character.
Yeah, but he would get all his, like, it would cost you 1 of your cellular regenerations, but he would go from, despite having, say, like 50% health on tag in, that would actually put you back up to 100.
Yeah, which is great. It was sort of hidden heal, and in almost all cases, that would have been better than just getting health back from a special.
Yeah.
In any case that doesn't knock you out, going all the way back up to full was really good.
Right. And as I'm looking at the screen right now, watching Raven come in with an Astro Harness, that would break reverse flashes. I mean, because this was before the Astro Harness.
That would break combo too.
That would break his combo, which was kind of crappy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We also have the Metahuman Flash with super speed upon special activation upon special attack or super move activation. Basic attacks temporarily triple in speed with a chance to be unblockable and do critical damage, and that's 1200 both attack and health.
So as we're doing this, I don't know why it never occurred to me. So from Elseworld Flash 750 to reverse 1000 Metahuman 1200.
Yeah,
those are some pretty big jumps.
It is
across the board,
especially considering that these are all golds we're talking about.
Yeah, one thing to point out is that the triple speed is not really the way speed is normally sort of manifested, right? Like Regime Flash, 15% boost in speed. He's actually just faster.
It's more like they should just say like triples the number of attacks.
Right, because that's exactly it. He gets 3 hits for each 1 hit from either the tap or swipe combo. So what swipe combo would normally be 3 hits.
Yeah.
He would get 3 for each one of those. So the first 2 would be 6 instead of 2, and the last one would be another 3.
Yeah.
So that means he generates power faster, because the more hits he does, the more power he generates. Mm-hmm. So he gets back to doing special faster, which triggers his passive again faster.
Which is really good.
Yeah.
This is a good example for a lot of characters. We talk about the sort of roles that they have. This is a good example of somebody who is both a basic damage dealer and a special specialist sort of all at the same time, right? And the thing is, most gear that makes him good at either benefits him.
Right.
Because power generation is great, because then he just has way more power. Boosting special damage means that when he's dealing specials, that deals more damage itself. Right. Boosting basic damage means he does way more damage with basic damage. There's really almost no way to gear him up that's a mistake.
Right. I think there's a sweet spot, though, that makes him sort of the perfect loadout, because you want to find that balance between, you want him to get to specials quickly.
Yeah.
You also want him to do a lot of damage when he's doing triple the number of basic hits.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to find the sweet spot where you've boosted his power generation enough so that each time he triggers his passive, he can get to another passive really quickly.
Yeah, which is just the special 1, which isn't super hard.
Right, but like a special 2 will last longer.
Yeah.
So it's finding that sweet spot, and I don't know whether I've played with him enough, but like you said, you don't really care. You just want to make sure that you could either make him do a huge amount of damage so that once you get to a special, one of his combos is enough to knock somebody out.
Yeah. Or
you just want to get to a special often enough so that even if he's not doing a huge amount of damage, you're just in sort of this special passive triggered moment.
Yeah.
Indefinitely.
Because
continually.
Yeah, dealing more damage with your basic attacks just means that that's what you centered around. If you boost a special, it just means that his passive is basically just getting you back your specials way faster.
Right.
Right? And it's less about the damage in that.
Right.
And then power gen's always good, but in this case it almost feels doubly good. It feels like double dipping.
Right.
Yeah. Next we have Wally West, the Flash.
This was the first one that we forgot from last week.
Yeah. So passive is Speed Force Merge. Chance to dodge any special attack and then counterattack for large damage. If teamed up with Rebirth characters or Flash characters, the chance goes up, and Rebirth characters also receive a power generation boost. 1350 attack, 1300 health.
So again, another big jump up from 1200 to 1350, 1300.
Yeah,
and I guess
this is the first time since Bronze's that attack has surpassed health in terms of basic stats again.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure he technically is a Flash character. I mean, he looks like a Flash. He has the passive, but I don't think the Flash is in his name anywhere. He's Rebirth Wally West, right?
But the cards, don't they? The 10%
the support
bonus
cards. Yeah, the support cards. Yeah, for sure. So he's interesting. He was one of the earlier cards that was a good counter to a special specialist. Mm-hmm. It wasn't guaranteed, but unlike Reverse, where if you
just nothing happens.
Yeah, nothing happens, and he attacks you. He actually damages you part of it. So it's good and bad in some ways, because Reverse Flash, at least, if you're hit by somebody with Tentu Totem, they don't get their power back. Mm-hmm. Wally West, they get the power back right away, but you get a chance to smack him around.
Yeah.
What else is there to say about him? I mean, all the flashes are fast. All the flashes are really good.
Yeah. They're all better than their stats, I would say.
Yes.
Just in terms of, because how easy they are to play, in the same way that Solomon Grundy is always worse than his stats.
Yes, that's true. I guess the one reason why I probably don't choose Wally West as often, he's got really great, like, 3-part passive, right? So the chance to dodge, the chance is boosted if he's teamed with Rebirth characters, so that's technically 1.5. And all Rebirth characters get a power gen boost, and that power gen boost is great, but it's not, I never felt like it was enough, so he was basically a Flash without any kind of increased offensive potential.
Yeah.
Like, unlike Reverse Flash, where, I mean, there's a subtle difference in timing. They're all fast, but there's a subtle difference in timing where there's a decreased latency or decreased refractory period that made Reverse Flash. I mean, I really would have liked to see if Reverse Flash had Wally West stats.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
Mm-hmm. If only.
If only.
And we have, second last, I think, Earth 2 Flash, whose passive is supersonic. The Flash or any other Earth 2 character has a chance to stun opponent on tag-in. All Flash's attacks crit against stunned opponents, and the Flash's specials dilate time, so opponents are slowed for 8 seconds. And this is 1350 for both attack and health. So not as nearly as big a jump, right, from Wally West. It's a 50-point boost, and 50 points when you're talking about 1300, right?
Yeah, it's not nearly as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a few percent. So he's got one of the rare stuns that does 0 damage. So in invulnerability, and your opponent doesn't protect against Earth 2 Flash or his teammates' stuns.
Which is cool.
Right. But it also means that the stun can't knock you out. I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Strictly speaking, it's better because it doesn't rely on shields, but it's always really funny when you knock somebody out with the 1-point stun. So it almost feels like it's worse, even though it's not. So mechanically, because when they have 1 point of damage, you never lose a fight when the enemy has 1 point. And I shouldn't say never, but if you're swapping in, you should be able to, deal a single hit. Right?
Yes.
It's, it's never happened to us, let's say.
I mean, what even makes it even better is, all right, so there's a bunch of gears that will cause stun and tag in, but there's only 2 gears that will boost stun damage on top of that.
Yeah.
So we're talking Cloak of Destiny, Necron Scythe. Mm-hmm. The fact that there's 2 gears means that an Earth 2 team gets even better because of the Flash, because then you've got 2 teammates that can stun on tag in.
Yeah.
And it's great when you've got the Phantom Zone challenge and you need to do stuns.
Yeah.
If this is the team that you're playing with anyways, but because it's not so good for the other tasks that I probably don't use an Earth 2 team nearly as much as I should, and that's part of the reason why I forgot. I mean, now I'm giving the excuses. Part of the reason why I forgot about this Flash when we were talking about Flashes last week.
I forgot because I don't play with Flashes very much at all, so I don't really. I just didn't come to my mind.
Yeah, but this is probably to me this is a better Flash than Wally West, because the passive is an offensive passive.
Yep. And last but not least, we have Black as Night Flash. And his passive is Black Flash. When resurrected, Black as Night Flash returns with 100% health. Basic attacks against the Flash have a 10% chance to miss and leave the attacker open to counterattack. And then instead of taking damage, all Black as Night teammates gain health and power from enemy damage over times. 1500 attack and 1300 health. So the unbalancing towards attack has come back in a big way.
Right. So the only Flash that has a slightly higher health, it's 1350 instead of 1300, but Blackest Night Flash has 1500 damage compared to the 1350.
Yeah, and so, we always like that. Pretty unambiguously the best stats for the way we play, just in terms of pure numbers.
So, again, three passes, right? Like 3 actual abilities, which is great. The resurrection, there's lots of things that resurrect, including his teammate Blackest Night Hawkgirl.
Yeah, you can tell very obviously that that's probably what they had in mind. Right.
To take advantage, because most resurrects, you only come out with a portion of what your health was, right?
Yeah. And so the problem is that's a very defensive passive for a very offensive character. Mm-hmm. And if that would be so good on a lot of other characters, right? Because if you have somebody who's naturally a tank, especially if it was a Black Knight character still, and it was a tank.
Containment Doomsday would be amazing if each time he revived, he had full health.
Yeah. And you can get 1 revive from a teammate, right? Yep. And then you can get revives from gear.
Right. Necron Scythe, it only takes 1 slot if you knock somebody out.
Yeah.
2 slots if you use 4th World gear set.
And so you could have, for example, somebody with 2 default 100% revives and 1 100% revive if you knock somebody out. And if you can't on 400% health, right? You'd have 300% of your base health to get a single knockout, and then you'd get an extra 100% health. And that would have been spectacular. That would have been really incredible. The problem is, it doesn't really make sense to gear him as a purely defensive character.
Right. Flashes in general, for me at least, are attackers.
Yeah.
Especially when he's front-loaded like that with all that attack.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the 10% chance to miss is sort of... It's one of those defensive passives that's a pseudo-offensive passive because it gives you the opening to attack them, right? So you get a free combo.
Just 10% is never a high enough chance, right? Yeah. Anything that's only 10%, I think... what we've seen from things with chances is that they're much better if they're weaker but consistent. Yeah. And I think anything under than a third chance. What was the percent on Superman with a chance to refund the cost of a special?
Oh.
Did it tell us that? I don't know if it did. I don't remember.
Was it Superman? Which Superman?
That was a Superman. It was I forget which one.
Oh, Man of Steel.
Man of Steel. That's who it was.
I think it was like maybe 30%.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was about to say, because that's probably the only passive with a low chance of triggering.
Oh, but it was so much fun.
Exactly. And it's because it's significant, right? And it would be significant for the basic attack to miss too. Yeah. But a basic attack is nowhere... So the enemy missing a basic attack is nowhere near as significant as getting all your power back.
Yeah.
And the chance is much lower, so this doesn't feel like a lot. And it's fine because it's part of like a 3-parter, yes, right?
Yes.
But by itself, you sort of ignore it. It doesn't really feel like much.
Right. So the great majority of his passive is defensive.
Yeah.
And the one defensive that's almost offensive that you can take advantage of, it isn't high enough to make enough of a difference.
Yeah, and the health and power from enemy damage over time is great. It's
yes.
But the problem is damage over time teams aren't the teams that you have to worry about in online multiplayer. Yeah. So the problem is the fights that it makes a difference in are fights that you already were going to win.
Okay, but I gotta tell you though, the times that again, great defensive team, the times I've actually really struggled is when I built the team around damage over time.
Yeah.
And I faced them, and I gotta tell you, the Blackest Night Flash did 3 supers on me in a row.
Yeah.
The only reason I survived was because 2 of them were absorbed by the Astro Harness.
Yeah.
And I had a chance to get some attacks in. I mean, if I was facing Blackest Night Flash and I had an all DOT team, I don't think I would even bother trying to fight it.
It's true, yeah. So it screws up defensive play. Sorry, it screws up other people's offensive play. It doesn't help a lot for defensive play. And it's not great in its own offensive play.
Right.
There's a very sort of narrow range of people. I don't even know how many people use damage over time teams. I think it might screw up us and very few other people.
I mean, a lot of it is you play according to what the meta is like, right?
Yeah.
And I think we've gotten away from doing damage over time teams specifically because of Astro Harness and Blackest Night Flash.
It's a little sad.
Yeah, because they were fun. Like, when you watch, like, there's nothing more hilarious. Remember that time when we had Injustice 2 Aquaman facing Injustice 2 Aquaman?
Oh, and it was just trading back and forth.
We were,
and then
we were able to time it just right, that we each did 2 of them. And they did the first one, and we did the second, they did the third, we did the fourth.
So it kept reflecting and amplifying it.
Yeah, but the fourth one, it was Injustice 2 Superman had tagged back in, and he took the fourth one, and he blocked it.
Yeah.
So he had a shield.
He could have lost it, yeah, but he...
Yeah. And then he just bled out like stink, like a stuck pig.
Yeah.
Because each time it doubles, right?
So there we go.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so that's our official review of everybody.
So if now taking into account all the different flashes, who do you think is your favorite or best, or however you want to judge it? Who's your favorite Flash?
Favorite Flash? Okay, I think my favorite Flash is probably Elseworld. It would have to be, if my favorite like viable Flash would be Elseworld. Otherwise, my favorite Flash would be Basic Bronze.
Oh, I was just saying
one of the
Flash
2.
Prime. No, that's my favorite Flash is Flash Prime.
Yeah,
totally is. I spent so much time playing him, grinding Bonus Battle 1 to get my first gold pack and get my subsequent gold packs. I just spent so much time playing with Flash Prime.
Yeah.
That was my favorite. That was my answer.
Also, a special shout out to Regime Flash, who was there in the store and was the first character that we considered buying directly when we were still playing off the same account. We were like, oh, but you like Flash so much, let's just buy it in the store. And you're like, oh no, just get a pack, it'll be fine. And we're like, oh, but you like him so much.
Yeah, I know. The best Flash though, I mean, I guess none of the other Flashes are enough to stand on their own. They need a team. Besides Elseworld Flash, right?
Yeah.
They need a team to really unlock their potential. So I will agree. I didn't plan this, but I agree with you both ways that the one I like to play the most is probably still Elseworld Flash, and my favorite of all time is still Flash Prime.
It's not entirely surprising that our opinions are the same on this. But
I guess not.
It makes for less controversial content, unfortunately. Do I need to change my answer now so that we can get into a big fight about it?
No, I think that it's that's about right.
Okay, we'll cut this out.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. We do no editing, by the way. For anybody who's wondering if there's anything else you guys haven't heard, pretty much not. Like
the only editing we do is when we forget to turn the recorder on while we're talking.
That's true. And I'm sure anybody who's a longtime listener of us, I say that like that's a behind the scenes thing. We leave phone calls in that happen. So I'm sure that doesn't surprise anybody that we're not big editors. But yeah. Our next question comes from Jan Majewski, and they say, is it possible to play on an older version of the game?
Yes.
Yeah.
And our next question from Gary Barlow is, what does rooted mean? I don't know if there's an easy explanation. In my mind, it's just that certain restrictions have been removed. When you've got, like, Android, even though it's way more sort of customizable than iOS.
So let's really basically rooted, you can root your device. It's a thing that you can do to your device.
Yeah. And you make it so that you can do stuff that the developers did not intend for everybody to do, but it also sort of leaves you open to potentially damaging your device at the same time. So you get to do more, good or bad.
So it's sort of like on Windows PCs, how you have like a command line where you can access things really, really directly. If you know what commands to put in, you can do a ton of stuff, right? It's not locked through the interface. It's not restricted at all. Right. But because of that, you can just like delete Windows. You can delete the files that your computer needs to run, and you can just make it stop working. And so rooting your device is very similar to that, where it's like closer to developer level controls, where it gives you complete control. If you know what you're doing, you can do anything that the hardware and software allows. Right. But and like even more than the software normally allows. But you can also mess up your device, because you can do anything, including stuff that is stupid to do.
Right. The main reason for rooting the device originally, and it's clearly not this one, was to get recorders, onboard recorders that could record the system audio while disabling the microphone. If people have noticed, if they've been watching us for a while, we used to have gameplay videos that had more in-game noises. Yeah. And I mean, we could do that now, except you'd have to have the mic on, and I'm sure nobody would want to hear all the bathroom noises,
or like you breathing,
or any kind of yelling and stuff. And from a style and aesthetic choice, I decided that it's not worth having game noise if it means it's potentially going to be drowned out by microphone noise. Yeah. So that's why it was important. And this device, so our previous device was rooted. This device that we're doing to film video is not. But the problem is this device is faster. But it's not quite Android 10, because Android 10, I think, allows system audio again. Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like if you imagine a normal phone would be like just having your like desktop computer tower. And having it rooted is like having the side open so that you can change components around, right? Where naturally you still have a lot of flexibility. You can still plug stuff into the ports out front. You can still do a lot of stuff, even with the physical device itself, right? And there's very little chance of you breaking something using it in all the ways that it's possible for you to use it. Right. But then the more capabilities you open up, the less you can, the less you're protected from yourself.
That's right. Exactly right. Okay.
There we go. Our next comment comes from Rebel for Ebel, and they say, I barely play Injustice anymore, and I just love listening to you guys speak and interact. I love your personalities, and it's been a genuine pleasure to be subscribed for as long as I have been, and I'm hoping to stay tuned in for as long as you choose to do this. I hope you're doing well, and I hope you have a wonderful night. And we're reading this out because, one, it's incredibly sweet, and we want to say thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And we can pretend that it's not for us, that we're not reading this to pat ourselves on the back.
But we are.
Yeah, we love comments like this. And it's really cool because I think we don't get a sense as much of how people feel about us when we don't get comments like this, right? Right. Because our viewer numbers, right? We get more views than I would expect on our videos, right? When we get like hundreds of views, right? Right. But we don't know what that means. That means that somebody's watched for at least 30 seconds and not much else. Right. So in a video like this, even somebody who's watching it in full, could be just like something that barely passes their threshold for interesting enough that they can listen to while they're doing something else in the background. And so it's cool to have people say, I actually like listening to you actively and your personalities, and I enjoy it.
Well, and it's funny too, because I think the way we interact with our channel has evolved over time. Yeah. And at one point, I think when we were maybe getting more ad revenue, the idea that each view was, pennies, but those pennies would add up into dollars, was very exciting. But as that's declined, and we still do this, I've enjoyed so much more the idea that this is a community, that we're interacting, and that we're making contribution to it with these things that we do. Yeah,
I care so much more about each individual person who actively engages and really likes our stuff than I do about any 1,000 views, right? Yeah. I recently checked our channel statistics. Do you want to give a guess at how many lifetime views we have on the channel?
I know it's a few million. I just don't know how many. Maybe 3 million?
6.5.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah. But I gotta say, I looked at 6.5 million and I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. And I read nice comments like this, and I'm like, well, wow, that's great.
Even better.
That's really cool, right? So it's definitely interesting. And I think before I had started the channel, if somebody asked me, what would be cooler to you, knowing that you had 6.5 million views, or knowing that one person really liked your content and was going to keep watching it they were planning to keep watching it as long as you continue making stuff, I would go, oh, well, I think the 6.5 million views would be cooler, but I would have been wrong.
Yeah. And, we've still got a bunch of questions. I guess we'll put them off until next week.
Yeah, but I do want to do one.
Oh, okay.
I want to go over Daniel O's, just because timestamps, right? And there's going to be a comment, I think, on almost every timestamp, so we don't want to fall behind.
Right.
So, great timestamps. And I do appreciate the way that they're formatted and laid out, too. They're well tagged. I think there's an aspect of creativity to deciding what to call them, and that part is done quite well.
Yes.
So Daniel also says, I got an unjustified sense of excitement when I heard my name in this video. Maybe it's something about hearing it from a voice you normally don't associate with yourself. Also, for the Survivor gear, I recently started a new account to do the refund glitch on. I believe that alongside of server time, there's a timer attached to the account specifically for the Survivor gear. My new account has a different gear set and a different end date to my main account, despite having done no glitches besides the refund glitch on the main account. My guess would be the account's internal timer is locked, either from being banned on multiplayer or having done a time-based glitch like Survivor Reset improperly.
I think that's a great theory. I think that takes into account a few things, but I think maybe there's one more step to take, is that maybe then it doesn't have to be something wrong, that if you just start a new account and it's staggered from the other one.
Yeah, it's possible that your start time of the account made the change too, but that's a really good theory.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that we have enough accounts to be able to say that, but it fits with the way ours are set up, where we start a new account and it's been out of sync from the first one from the get-go.
So there we go. That is all the content for this week. We'll save some of these questions, then we'll make our way into the next one. A shout out to Eliza. I forgot to update this section of the script. Caton, I forgot to update the section of the script. This shout out has been brought to you by forgetfulness.
Okay.
I guess, no, I'm not going to make any excuses for it. That's on me. That's my bad. And then also a huge thank you to everybody who is supporting us on Patreon.
So that is Console Peasant and Edwoon at the highest tier last word, Mohammed Albshaiti at the Your Message Here tier, Shawn Farrell, Daniel Simonson, Aaron Maule, Michael DeVries, Brandon C., and Irvin Ruiz, who support us on the credit level. Chris Wolf, Scarlett Emby at the gratitude level, and a big thank you to all of you who continue to watch us or listen to us.
Yeah, thanks so much. We'll see you next time. Komoda.